Travel and Things in association with Rugged Wear, Real People, Real Clothing, Real Solutions presents In Conversation With. I'm your host, David Batzofin, and today I'm actually interviewing, well, basically myself. And I'm going to be chatting about these brand new books from Struik Nature. How good are they? Well, this is what happened just before this recording took place. My executive assistant decided that he too is a predator of note and wanted to get in on the action. So he's been reading the mammals book, and he learned that lions, for instance, sleep 20 hours a day, and that's obviously what he aspires to be doing. So shall we take a look at the books then? First up is this Trees of Kruger. In fact, all three books are about Kruger. But Trees of Kruger is interesting for a variety of reasons. It's written, although it's not said on the cover, it's written by Braam van Wyk and Piet van Wyk, who unfortunately passed in 2006. Braam was a professor of botany at the University of Pretoria, and Piet was a biologist in the Kruger National Park's research team until his retirement in 1991. So he knows the area very well. And I'll just show you a couple of the illustrations. Everything that you need to know is here, and it's easily identified. The book itself, just to give you an sort of a size example, you can see there is about the size of a cell phone, maybe a little bit bigger. But it's easy to carry in a car, which means that if you're driving through Kruger or any of the Lowveld area, you can use this as a reference. You don't have to go to those large tree books that you need a Fender trailer for. And this is always on hand. If you're at all uncertain, you can page through the book and have a look at some of the easily identifiable images and what you need to look for. The beauty about trees, of course, and I always joke with people who have an interest in botany and specifically in trees, is that trees don't go away. If you drive past them on your outward drive, when you return, they are still there. It's not like an animal that is there and then gone, or even an insect which may have vanished. But trees are there for a long time. So that's Trees of the Kruger Park. And it suggested retail price is about 280 Rand, give or take. You can get them. I'm just having a look at my notes here. There is an e-publication, but I don't think that you'd want it on a phone. Maybe I think you want it in your hand so that people in the vehicle can share it with you. And the cover is really nice and firm, so it's not going to break down very quickly. So that's Trees of Kruger. Next up, of course, Mammals of Kruger. Where would we be without the Mammals of Kruger? And this particular book was written by Joan Young. And I happened to chat to Joan just recently. She's down, I think, on the coast, if I remember correctly. And we chatted about this book and the insect book that's coming up that she also had a hand in putting together. She's lived and worked in the South African bush for 37 years and spending 2 decades as a tour guide and environmental educator in Kruger National Park. And she's really passionate. As I said, I had a word with her, and she said, you review the book. I'm not going to help you out on this one. So, Mammals of Kruger. And it's interesting that you don't even have to say Kruger National Park. All you got to do is say Kruger. Everybody knows exactly where you're talking about. And of course, the big five are in it, but also things like dwarf mongoose, which is one of my favorite of the smaller animals. It's the smallest mongoose, and to my mind, probably one of the most inquisitive, because what it'll do is if it does see you, it'll then the whole colony. I can't remember what the collective noun for mongoose is right now, but whatever it is, they'll all scatter. And then if you just sit quietly, they will all return. They're like meerkats in that manner. They will return, and then they become very interested in you. and will sort of wander over. They'll get quite close to see exactly what you are. Now, something that you don't want to have quite close to you is one of these. It is said that more people are killed by hippopotamus on the African continent than all the other big five put together. That bit of research is now being challenged because those that know better than I say that crocodile kills may be in there, unreported crocodile kills may be also responsible for some of those. And as they say, they're not being reported, so we don't know. White rhino, while we can still see them, because those are still being poached on a large scale. And then things like the African wildcat. If you've ever seen one of those in the wild, you'll know how really cool they are. So that's Mammals of Kruger, and as I say, put together by Joan Young. And Joan's second book in the series, I love the title of this, Insects and Other Critters of Kruger. Years ago, in fact, when I was but a stripling at 13 and went to Kruger for the first time, I think he was the general manager of Kruger at the time, Dave Stechman, used to give talks in the evening at Pretoria School. There were slideshows, and then he'd talk about what he called the hochekis and nunekis that ran around Kruger National Park. And that roughly translates to critters. Hochos are insects, and nunekis are other critters of the Kruger Park. That proudly on the cover is a dung beetle, of course. And if you've never watched dung beetles in action, I suggest that you do. Something that we here in Johannesburg are all too aware of is the Parktown prawn. The hardy-dars, although we hate them, are known to take these out. And to the best of my knowledge, I must say, I haven't seen Parktown prawns in my garden for the longest time, but you can find them in Kruger as well. And just remember that although these three books say of Kruger, they also are useful in other areas where similar vegetation, similar mammals, or similar insects and other critters are found. Stick insects, wonderful, 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 and difficult to spot, but once you have, they are a joy to watch. It's like with all insects, once you find them and you just settle down, I mean, look at the coloration on that large green fruit chafer. You cannot do that by hand. I mean, that looks like something that's come out of a custom car shop after having a major overhaul. You know, it used to look like that, and now it looks like this. But the insect world is wonderful, and you'll find, of course, the dragonflies and damselflies and butterflies as well, because they form part of the environment. And then ants, they too are very busy. And if you watch things like, they used to be called matabele ants, they're now called hissing ants. If you watch them going out on a foray, they eat termites, so they will go out during the day from their anthills and go and hunt termites, and then bring victims back to be a food source for them. So that is the Insects and Other Critters of Kruger by Joan Young. There is Mammals of Kruger by Joan Young, and then Trees of Kruger by, who were they again? Let me get my notes, by Braam van Wyk and Piet van Wyk. So if you're looking for something, it may be a bit late for a sort of a Christmassy gift, but if you're looking for something to buy yourself as a gift going into the new year, maybe instead of buying chocolates for Easter, give these three to somebody for Valentine's Day. How's that for a different type of Valentine's Day present? Insects and Other Critters of Kruger, Mammals of Kruger, and the Trees of Kruger, and all are published by my favorite nature publisher, that's Struik Nature, and they are available right now. My name is David Batzofin, and this has been In Conversation With, and I hope that you've enjoyed the show.